When I was talking with one of my friends this month who is Asian, she told me that the first racial insult she received was here in Utah County. And I was shocked by this, and I wanted to dig deeper and find out how bad racism is in America. More than 4 in 10 say the country hasn't made enough progress towards racial equality, and there is some skepticism, especially among blacks, that black people will never have equal rights with whites, according to a new Pew Research Center survey. In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., the Negro still is not free. And I have a dream that we will all see the need to end racism and do our part. Today, I will go over Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech and apply his message to us today and what we can do. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous I Have a Dream speech on August 28, 1963. He gave it in front of the Lincoln Memorial toward the end of the March on Washington, and he delivered this speech in front of 200,000 people. Martin Luther King Jr. was a civil rights activist who wanted more equality and freedom for his black brothers and sisters. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech hit hard on racism and the need for it to end. He let us know that we all play a part in this process by saying, "The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people, for many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny." Martin Luther King Jr. says, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. All he wants for black people is for them to be treated equal." Now that we've gone over the key components of Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech, I want to relate it to today's current situation. Even in America today, we see racism. We see it in social media, our social sphere, and maybe even in our personal lives. From the same Pew Research Center survey, about half of black adults say being black has hurt their ability to get ahead, at least a little, with 18% saying it hurt a lot. We as a people can do our part to end racism. Now let's briefly talk about what we can do to help end racism. Some of us might fear correcting someone if we hear them say a racist comment, but we need to make sure that we aren't bystanders and that we stick up for what's right when we see it. We need to make sure that we evaluate our personal beliefs and root out any racism that we find within us. And we honestly might have some loved ones, some friends that are racist, and we need to make sure that we are helping them get rid of those beliefs and those biases that they have. Friendship is a great portal for facts to be received and digested by people. This speech has made me want to do my part in ending racism, and I hope it'll do the same for you. I don't think that racism will end tomorrow or even within the next year, but what will help end racism is more men and women like Martin Luther King Jr. and people that are willing to follow them. Today I covered Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech and related it to us today on how we can help end racism. I have a dream that we all play a part in ending racism.